All right. We are on. We are live and we are in action. I am Eric Strauss. I'm the host of the Xhale Podcast. I am joined here today by a very awesome guest. Thank you so much for coming on, Ryan Myers. Welcome to the Xhale Podcast.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, happy to be here.
Definitely. How are you today?
I'm super good. Super good. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, today we are going to be talking about basically you, a little bit of what you do, competition shooting. You're the current national spearfishing champion.
Yes, thank you.
So getting ready to compete in the world championships as well,
Yeah.
which is going to be in Portugal, correct?
Yep.
Sweet.
I got a national championship coming up and then a world championship coming up.
Nice. So we're going to talk about that, how that kind of has affected you as a diver, how it's developed you as a diver, as a spear fisherman, as well as some of your traveling. You're pretty well known for getting around the world on a budget, let's say.
Absolutely. Poor and homeless. I've been all around the world. Definitely.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But you guys are going to hear all about it today on this episode of the Xhale Podcast. We'd like to start off by, of course, thanking our sponsors, Florida Freedivers, where we are recording in their fine showroom, so to speak, retail location here in North Palm Beach, Florida. So definitely be sure to check them out. You can see them on Instagram at Florida Freedivers, at FL Freedivers, sorry. And be sure to check them out if you need some gear. They're an awesome source for all that kind of fun stuff.
Definitely.
But other than that, let's go ahead and get right into it, man. I think the first thing that I really wanted to talk about, one of the things that's most interesting to me at least, is the competition side of stuff. I've been reading some of your blog posts,
Thanks.
which has blown up, by the way. Check out
Yeah.
Ryan Myers' blog. What's the website?
The website is www.ryanmyersexpeditions.com.
There it is. Check it out. Honestly, one of the best sources for high quality spearfishing and freediving information that I have come across. Up there, one of my favorite blogs that I've ever read was the Chris Coates. He has some amazing information on. Oh man, my camera's going all kinds of crazy. Amazing information on like spear guns and rigging, that kind of thing. But as far as like freediving and actual spearfishing, you have some phenomenal information on there. And
Thanks,
I'm
man.
definitely going to be
Definitely.
directing people towards that for that kind of information because it's
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And you have a post on there about how competitive spearfishing has made you a better spearfisherman. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, most people go out spearfishing and you're really just going fishing.
Yep.
Like you go offshore, you look around, you dive your same spots, you just kind of see what you find and you shoot whatever you encounter. And you might be grouper season, maybe you're out looking for a grouper, or maybe it's winter time and you're out kind of looking for a wahoo or whatever, but you're not really hunting per se. You're just kind of shooting whatever's legal, whatever you see.
Swimming around and whatever comes up to you.
Absolutely. It's not hunting in the sense of the way a hunter goes and he looks for, that legal, maybe it's wintertime and he wants that nice black grouper, he wants that nice gag grouper, and the tournament side of it is totally different. Tournament side of it is I'm going out, I know I need 2 gag groupers, I know I need 1 cobia over 34 inches, I know I need 4 hogfish over 16 inches, whatever it is. You're very specifically hunting, and the way you practice for that and the way you train for that is you're out there looking at these spots and you're seeing where the hogfish live and where the gag groupers live, and you're not killing them.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. You're seeing where they live and you're learning and you're remembering and whether you write it down or you video it or whatever, you are gathering that information for later so that when you come back, you are an effective hunter. You know where that grouper is going to be already. You know that you drop down on that little barge or whatever, and there's a couple grouper there. You don't know where he is, but he's somewhere there, and you're going to find him. If you're in a tournament, you're going to keep poking through every hole and whatever, and you got a flashlight out, and you're going to find that fish. Whereas before, you might have glazed right over it and said, "Oh, there's nothing here. I'm leaving." And that's really tournament spearfishing. It's just different. It's much more targeted, and that's what really makes you into a hunter, and less of what I like to think of as a fisherman. I mean, fishermen, you go out, you throw your line out, you drop it to the bottom. There's a lot of stuff down there, and you hook what you hook.
Yeah.
And that's not at all what we do tournament fishing. It's very well targeted.
Which is part of what I love about it. it seems to me like it can almost develop your hunting where you're much more selective for one.
For sure.
Like you said.
Absolutely more selective.
Yeah, 'cause you're not going around and just. I mean, let's be honest. Most of the people here that are spearfishing, particularly South Florida and in the Bahamas, they're just going over and a hogfish is going to swim in front of them and they're going to smoke the thing.
You shoot what you see.
And they're going to shoot the next 15 of them as well.
Absolutely. You're shooting what you encounter. Whereas as a competitive spearfisherman, you don't need 20 hogfish.
Yeah.
You only need 4. And you don't need to know where 4 guy grouper are. You only need to know where 2 of them are. But you better know where those 2 are. Because if you go out all day and you don't find those 2, like, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You must get your 2 groupers. You must get your 4 hogfish. You must get your 5 mangroves.
Yeah.
Whatever the tournament, rules are, you have to know where to find those fish. And it's not you don't judge spots by, well, it's a very good spot, it's got a lot of fish. It's a very good spot, this one has a lot of mangrove snapper.
Yeah.
This one has a lot of guy groupers. This one has a lot of cobia. And halfway through the day when you're hunting, you've cleared your groupers, you've cleared your mangroves. Now, which spot has the most hogfish? Because that's where you have to go right now. You're not going to the spot with the most fish. You're going to the spot with the most hogfish.
Yeah.
Because that's your next category to close.
That's cool to me as well, because not only are you trying to get, a certain species, you're going for multiple species in one, window.
Absolutely.
And, it's getting back on how selective it makes you. Because you can only shoot one fish of a certain category, right? So you can only shoot one hogfish, let's say.
Well, it depends. But the way it works is once you shoot that fish, it's yours.
Yeah.
There's no returning it to the ocean. This is not a catch and release tournament. This is not a, hey, I'm going to keep changing out my bass like the bass fishermen do.
Right.
This is very specific. Once you shoot that fish, it belongs to you. It's going to be weighed.
Yeah.
Whether it's legal size, undersized, oversized, whatever it is, it's going to be weighed. And that's why that choice is so important before you shoot. And
making sure you have the right one. Because what if a bigger one comes along?
The bigger one comes along, doesn't matter because you cannot go over. So a lot of the tournaments I do in the international setting, the national setting is a little bit more relaxed, but the international setting, you're allowed 4 snapper. And if you shoot 4 small, say like in Mexico, we've got the Pargo Amarillos, they call them, which is kind of like they got a yellow tail, they're half yellow. I don't know what their English name would be, but they only get a couple pounds.
Right.
And they're in the same category as your barred pargo. And the barred pargo get 25 pounds.
Right.
But you can only get 4. So obviously the yellowtail snapper are easier to find. And do you shoot your 4 yellowtail as they come? Or do you hold off for maybe you bump into that big 20-pound barred? And at the end of the day, usually you've screwed up one way or the other. Usually you're like, shit, I should have shot that 4th, yellowtail.
Yeah.
Or shit, I shot my 4 yellowtail and I can't shoot the big barred pargo that comes right up to me. Because the international tournaments have a judge in every boat. And when you shoot that fish, it's yours. And you can't go over, you can't go under.
So what is the ramification for shooting
an extra fish?
Additional fish.
They disqualify the biggest fish.
Ooh.
So if say you're allowed 4 snapper and you shoot 4 little ones and then the monster swims up to you, they're going to disqualify your 5th snapper, your biggest one.
So there's literally like zero kind of culling going on.
There's no tolerance going on here. There's no culling. There's no none of that. There's no upgrading. We call it in the competitive world upgrading.
Yeah.
And in nationals there's a little bit of that. It's kind of one of those gray area things. But in the international circuit, there's none of it. They see every fish. So
wow.
That's why you get a lot of negative scores, a lot of points, a lot of fish that are undersized. So for a lot of the circuits, what they do is they put the legal tournament size above what the legal regulation is. So whatever the regulation is for that area, they put the tournament size bigger so that if you screw up, you're not disqualified.
Gotcha.
Because if you shoot an illegal fish, you're disqualified from the whole tournament.
Mm.
And that's not, they don't want that. So so they put it bigger. But you don't want that penalty point. That penalty is it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. But we definitely see them.
In a situation where you're trying to get as many points as possible, the penalty point is probably a big deal.
Yeah, you cannot possibly imagine the importance of a 500-gram mullet, or a 500-gram pinfish, which is a sargo, basically.
Yeah.
You have no idea. Well,
that part's always cracked me up, man.
Yeah.
Like the pinfish and the mullet.
The pinfish and the mullet, but hey, go out there and
points
shoot.
Are points.
Go out there and shoot 10 mullet. Hey,
no. I don't think I can hit one.
Exactly. That's my point. It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares? Trophy this, trophy that, whatever. But it's about spearfishing.
Yeah. So how do you think? Oops, that's where I gotta get it. We gotta get tripods around here.
There you go.
How do you think competitive spearfishing can help everyday divers, everyday spearfishermen, as far as obviously not everybody's going to get into the tournaments and that kind of thing.
Sure, yeah. Well, it's a very select group that wants to take it all the way. A very select group that wants to go to the world championships or even the national championships. But even your local tournaments force you to dive in ways that you never would. Mm. So I remember as a really beginner into the tournament circuit, diving dirty water. I'm from Palm Beach.
Yeah.
We don't dive dirty water. If you go out and the water's dirty, you go home.
Yeah.
You go drink beer on the sandbar. You're done. Day's over. And
we're spoiled here.
Absolutely spoiled. But you go out in tournament day, you're gonna dive it. You better learn how to dive. In 10-foot fizz, in 5-foot fizz, in 2-foot fizz. You better learn. Because otherwise, that's your day. That's the day that you're given. You're not out there picking your best conditions type of tournament. I mean, type of spearfishing like normally we do. We wake up in the morning and say, "Oh no, man, it looks shitty out there. Stay in bed. We're not going today."
Yeah.
You're going.
No, the tournament's running with or without you.
You're running with or without you.
Yeah.
And it really broadens your horizons for the type of conditions that you're willing to dive in. And also the areas that you're willing to dive in. The national championships, they've taken me all over the country. They've taken me into the crystal clear, very difficult grounds of Hawaii, where the water's clear, the fish are brilliant, and they're very freaking small. And if you cannot hit a 1-pound fish that does not want to be hit, you're not doing well.
Yeah.
It's very different than our Palm Beach targets that we're used to. We're used to shooting big fish.
Big wide
targets, yeah.
Big wide fish.
And
slow moving.
Absolutely. And the nationals here, I mean, they took me to a lake. I dove in the beautiful Ozark Mountains, I tell Sam. I took her on vacation to the beautiful Ozark Mountains. But really it was Arkansas to a pond that was muddy. And it was 5 foot of is and very cold, and we had to learn how to shoot carp. But
which is why of all places, why was that selected?
The national championships, as much as I kind of despise the whole system that runs it and the whole, whatever our national association is, I commend them on the way that it changes conditions. So the world circuit could be anywhere in the world. It could be, for example, the first one I went to was in Greece. A fish did not live. They literally did not exist shallower than 35 meters, 115 feet. Okay. The one I'm getting ready to go to, the fish all live less than 3 meters, 10 feet.
Wow.
So the conditions are so different.
I can dive that.
Yeah. The conditions are so different, though. You better be able to dive everything.
Yeah.
If you want to be consistently, if you want to consistently place and do well in the tournament world, you better be a well-rounded diver. You better be able to dive that 3 meters. You better be able to dive that 150 feet. You have to do it all.
Or a foot of fizz in a lake.
Exactly. Or a foot of fizz in a lake. And so I really commend that part of our circuit, on making the diver prepared for that world championship, because you don't know where it's going to be. And you have to be ready to adapt, whether it's a bigger gun, smaller gun, you know, dirty water, sharks, great whites, whatever it is. You better be, you know, versatile in your diving ability. You cannot just be like your standard, I'm going to shoot a cobia off a bull shark, whatever type of diver. You better know it all, you know, or at least be willing, may not be know it all, because none of us do, but be willing to learn it all. You have to go there with that ability to be comfortable in a couple feet of is, or in a 8 or 10 foot shore break surf zone. You know, you better be, you know, really, really comfortable in the water.
Yeah. So you just said something that made me think of something else in my brain. Speaking of shooting cobia on sharks.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that whole operation?
That's how I grew up. That was like my entire childhood, was like shooting cobia off bull sharks.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's really, it's a serious adrenaline rush.
Oh yeah.
It's not spearfishing. It's not, there's no hunting aspect to it. I mean, yeah, you got to know how to attract the bull sharks, and you have to know how to approach a bull shark and a cobia, and you have to know how to not get eaten by a bull shark.
Yep.
But as far as hunting, it's just not so much.
Not very sporty.
You know, it is and it isn't. It's
more of a,
use the word sporty in like it might be the sportiest spearfishing, you know,
guess,
but
yeah.
like it's
depends on how you look at it, I guess.
It's
in what sense of the word.
Yeah, it's pretty weak as far as diving goes. But what was kind of incredible was the effectiveness. Like, it's pretty damn effective.
Oh yeah.
You know, you want to go out of,
that's why everyone does it now.
You want to go out of Jupiter, Palm Beach, Stewart, and you want to shoot a cobia, which is honestly our pretty much mostly targeted fish. You don't have that many groupers left. You don't have that many snappers left. You want to go shoot a fish that's good to eat, whatever.
And big.
And a huge fish. I mean, the hell, you know, it's a 40, 50-pound fish.
Yeah.
You only want to dive 30 to 50 feet. I mean, what is better than a cobia off a bull shark? You know, I think it's gotten a little, the last few years, it's gotten a little intense.
Yeah.
Where like I'm honestly afraid to do it anymore. It's depending on where you go. It's the more cobia that have been lost to sharks, the more well trained those sharks are.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember.
What I was gonna say, they've gotten worse and worse over the
I
years,
guarantee it's gotten worse and
aggression-wise.
worse to the point where like it genuinely scares me, and it's only a matter of time before something really bad happens.
Yeah.
And we've all had those close calls.
What scares me the most about it is, because I've done it too. I mean, everybody.
We've all done it,
Everybody
and
that
it's
lives here has
great.
done
I mean,
it.
hell, you live in Palm Beach. There's no grouper. There's no snapper. I mean, what are you gonna do? You
Yeah.
want to go spearfishing, you
and it's
know?
a ton of fun.
It's absolutely, it's fun as hell, and especially with a really well trained group.
For sure.
With a good group of 4 or 5 guys that know what they're doing, it can be safer.
Yeah.
You know.
And I see my issue is I see a lot of guys that don't know what they're doing, and a lot of really young guys getting out there and doing it as well, who just don't have the experience to be in the water doing that.
It's
kind
the easiest
of thing.
way to go shoot a cobia. I mean,
sure.
if you want to shoot a cobia, go out. I mean, you're not going to attract a cobia, but hey, it's pretty easy to attract a bull shark.
Yeah.
You know, it's not hard.
Yeah.
But
and it's quickly become. I mean, when I was in high school, I remember going out and running the beaches looking for rays.
Absolutely.
And nobody does that anymore.
Not at all.
Nobody does that.
No, it's
because honestly, I haven't seen as many rays around here as we used to see, and manta rays.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you the last time I saw a manta ray here.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before on the podcast, but it's just see everybody wants to shoot them off the sharks.
Hey, it looks awesome.
It looks sick. It makes sick
awesome.
video.
It does. It's all
Instagram
wonderful.
Likes.
It's all wonderful, and I begrudge nobody that does it. And like I said, I grew up doing that. That's what we did. And I was by no means the first ones doing it, but we were among them. You know, that was when, you know, the water bottle was a secret. You know, where hey, there were strict rules. Nobody cracks the water bottle while somebody's down.
Yeah.
You know, that was when I started with, you know, Killian and Ryan Poole and those old folks, you know, that are now. That it was, you know, there were rules, and it's gotten truly out of control.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Well, the problem is people don't know the rules.
the bull sharks.
Somebody sees somebody cracking a water bottle in a video on
and
Instagram.
it just translates into crack a water bottle. There goes the sharks. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the thing about it is, bull sharks are truly no joke. that they're very unpredictable.
They got a light switch.
They're
either on or off.
they're not like these smaller sharks that will come in and nibble you. Like I've seen them come through and take a cobia, and it's like it swam through a 50-pound fish. You know, it didn't take any effort for it. It just swam right through it. And that's your leg, that's your torso, that's something important, you know? And we've all had such close calls that it's scary, and it really is only a matter of time. And you know, I wish it upon nobody.
For sure.
But it's something that is definitely taken more lightly than it should be. And I won't let, you know, my girlfriend Sam dive with them. I won't let, you know, I not something that I do if I can help it.
Yeah.
You know, and granted, most people don't have the privilege or ability that I have to go all over the world, where I come back to Stewart and you know, I'm like, no, I'm going to pass. I'm not going to go. You know, and that's what a lot of people here have, you know, that's what you're going to do. And I had that for the longest time. That was just what you did.
Yeah.
But
if you really want to shoot cobia, go to the west coast of Florida or Louisiana.
Go to the west coast. They're here, and this is, honest to God, that's one of our best fisheries.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's one of
sure.
our biggest fisheries, and the problem came through the lack of, as more fish were lost to the sharks, the more they were trained.
They got more usages.
I mean, I remember
that gun goes off and it's a dinner bell.
at the beginning. At the very, very beginning, long ago, I was a little freaking kid. It was the bull sharks did not eat your cobia.
Yeah.
Like they would eat your permit. They'd eat your kingfish. They'd eat everything else, but they really didn't eat your cobia. And as it went on, that completely changed. That completely changed. And that's, I mean, all these crazy shark people with, you know, you don't train the sharks and this and that. Like you completely train the sharks. There's no doubt in my mind that the sharks are learning. You know.
Well, that's what they're not bred, but that's what they're born.
It's what they've done forever. You know? They're one of the most successful animals in the world.
They're born to eat stuff. Whatever the easiest route is to that stuff.
For sure. I mean, we just dove the Roatan this weekend, and the Roatan's a wreck.
How was that, by the way?
So we went out to this wreck about 70 miles offshore, and
assuming the intended target was not found.
It depends.
Yes and no.
You know, went to this wreck 70 miles offshore is Roatan. It's on the Gulf Coast, and it's pretty special. It's one of those things you hear about online. I've never been to, but it was known to hold some big black grouper. It sits in about 180 feet, and I lost what we were talking about before. How did I relate this to that?
We're talking about cobia.
Yeah.
And sharks and how.
So
sharks
exactly.
train.
Okay. So we get to this wreck 70 miles offshore, and there is more life than I've seen probably ever in my entire life. I dove all over the world, never seen this many barracuda, this many amberjack,
dude, the Gulf,
this many jack crevalles, this many African pompanos. Okay, so we're talking a significant increase in, you know, in life, in food source. Where were the sharks? Not one. Not a single shark did we see the entire day. And why? Is that because there was not enough food there? Obviously there was. I believe we are artificially creating this situation where the sharks get an easy feed. And the Roatan does not get a lot of divers.
Yeah.
Therefore, the Roatan does not get a lot of free food out there. And
do you think sharks are moving from the Gulf to the east?
No, I don't think it's that big of a migration, but I think that I don't know that they're moving or not. I mean, I'm not a shark scientist. I don't know. I don't know where they're stopping in their migration or what.
Yeah.
But like, it's pretty obvious that they learn. I mean, it was years and years ago that we figured out it was easier to attract a bull shark with the snapping of the bands than anything else. I mean, literally, I'm simulating a gunshot.
Yeah.
I take my spear gun bands, I pop them off of my notch, and I let them go, and they go boom, and all the sharks come up. You know, I mean, if that's not training, I don't know what is. I mean, they know what that sound is. I didn't
Yeah.
teach them that. You know, they learned that over me and, you know, not, me specifically, but a lot of us.
Everybody that
We've all done
anybody
it.
that
We've
does
all
it,
we've
yeah.
all made that mistake, and it's not my fault or anybody else's fault. It's a lot of our faults, and it's something we didn't.
And it's not even because you're using that tactic to draw them in. I don't think that's
Not at
what's
all.
at fault.
Not
It's
at all.
just-
We didn't start
Yeah,
by
that-
popping
it's
bands
just
to
the
attract
act
bull
of
sharks.
shooting 'em.
It was after they knew that sound meant free food.
Yeah.
And you know, it's something that you can't go back on. You know, it's already done.
Sharks are a touchy subject nowadays, though, man.
I don't want to talk about the shark people.
And we don't have to.
They're all
'cause,
shark scientists. It's okay. They're protecting the sharks.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for sure.
They're doing research.
Absolutely, it's all research. It's all for the,
Sharks come to chum anywhere in the world.
all for the good
apparently.
of the sharks. Yeah, for sure.
We determined in the last episode we were talking about that.
Yeah,
Sharks come to chum.
yeah,
That's groundbreaking stuff right there.
for sure. Yeah, no. Anyways,
Yeah. Anyways, kind of tying that into what we were talking about before a little bit, as far as how competitive shooting and stuff like that can make you a more selective hunter.
Yeah.
And also tying that in with the bull sharks and whatnot, I've almost seen a new breed of spearfisherman diver, so to speak, come from this habit of everybody wanting to go out and shoot cobia on bull sharks. It's kind of, and I think there's a lot more into it than that. I think it's kind of a loaded thing to say.
what it is, it's strictly you are a beginner spearfisherman, and you can do something that took the earlier generations a long time. So as a beginner 21st century right now spearfisherman, you can go out there, you can feed a bull shark, you can have a cobia come up within 20 feet of the surface, you can swim down, you can shoot a 50-pound fish. That's not how we started spearfishing.
No.
When I started spearfishing, I spent years of my life with the JBL 24 chasing mangrove snapper. The biggest, the dream was that black margate. You know, you shoot a black margate that was maybe legal, and you were pumped. You know, that's how we started spearfishing. You started, you know, with the little gun, with the little fish, and wounding 90% of it. I mean, it was
and shooting anything. too.
anything that was legal. Hey, what is that? That's a little something. That's legal. That's legal. I can shoot that. You know, and now it's different. Now I'm going to take a free diving course. Now I'm a 60-foot diver. Now I'm going to swim down 25 feet and I'm going to shoot a 50-pound fish off of a bull shark, and then it's going to get eaten by the bull shark. You know, it's just the way the sport's evolved, and it's the way people have evolved. I mean, you want it now. I want to be able to, hey, I started spearfishing. I shot a 50-pound cobia yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, cool. You know, I mean, it took me, I don't know, 8 years before I shot my first cobia.
Yeah.
You know, and most of us, that's how you learn to spearfish. That's how you learn to shoot fish
Took
in the
me
right.
a lot longer than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not supposed to be easy. You know, that cobia is supposed to be a trophy.
For sure.
And
And that's, like you said, I mean, that's how myself and our other host, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, Rodman, in the first ever Xhale Podcast episode that we did, that was the first thing we talked about, was how we got into spearfishing.
Yeah.
And as both of us were like, well, you know, I used to go sit under the dock and shoot mangrove snapper with a 3-prong pole spear.
Absolutely,
Off
it was all yellow 3 prongs
with a block of chum. you
Yep,
know?
yep. It was all mangroves. It was all schoolmaster with like the trophy. You know,
And I loved it.
I had a
still
blast.
love it.
I love it too. I loved it. It was great.
Even
But
through
that's not the way we learn anymore.
no,
You know, now it's
at least I don't see nearly as
you
many.
know, $400 for free dive class. Okay, here's my fancy gun. Let's go out and shoot a cobia off bull shark. You're done. Great.
And it's very social media driven as well.
It is. I like the social media side. I think it's good for it.
I think so too.
I
You
think
know,
it's
there's
good for sport.
aspects of it that
For sure.
that are good.
But it's I don't think the social media part of it is a problem. I think it's more just, I guess maybe the social media part we see, you know, so maybe that's the way everybody learns now. You
That's a good
see
point,
that, you know, you can swim down 30 feet and shoot a cobia off bull shark, you know, and it's not hard. All you gotta do is put food in the water and the bull sharks come up. You know, it's like, it's easy. It's not like you're shooting a grouper.
Yeah.
Like, how long did it take you before you shot your first grouper? Your first legal black or gag grouper? I mean, come on. You know, it was a long time.
The first larger fish I ever shot was a red grouper.
Yeah. Okay. That's
A
cool.
little bit easier than a black grouper.
For
and a
sure.
gag,
For sure.
But
Yeah, we don't have a lot of reds where I was diving. You know, Stewart and Palm Beach.
Yeah, this
But,
was down in Marathon.
yeah, they got a lot more.
That's where I grew
A
up.
lot more reds down
spearfishing.
there for sure. That's a beginner. That's a place. That's a place to learn. I tell
For
people all
sure.
the time.
I
Yeah.
loved it. Growing up and having access to diving down there,
Mm.
and like I said, shooting mangrove snappers under the dock,
For
and then
sure.
running out in 10 feet of water out in the Gulf and
Yeah.
shooting red snappers in a
Yeah.
hole.
Yeah, absolutely. Red groupers in a hole for sure. Yeah. No, it's different. It's kind of special. I mean, I don't know if we talk about where we are right now, but like we are in, Palm Beach and North Palm Beach, Jupiter, Stewart. If you're not a 60, 70-foot diver, you're not shooting fish. And
Yeah.
it truly breeds a better diver, and I mean, you got guys in the Keys that could dive their whole entire lives and shoot a lot of fish and never ever learn to free dive deeper than 40, 50 feet. Whereas that will never work in Jupiter.
Yeah.
Like Jupiter, Palm Beach, you need to learn to dive. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big part of where like our free dive culture comes from is, needing that extra depth because our productive reefs or whatever the reason is, whether it's we get a lot of scuba divers or our productive reefs are not a little bit deeper.
Yeah. Well, and especially now between
For sure.
how many divers, whether it's free or scuba,
Absolutely.
and fishermen.
Absolutely. But it just breeds a better diver. It really does.
Which is cool, man.
No, it's not a bad thing. I mean, that's where I grew up. That's where like, if you're not comfortably hunting 60, 70, 80 feet, like you're not shooting a fish. Like go home, it's not happening.
And so I lived in this area my whole life, but all the diving I did was down in the
Down
Keys.
south, yeah.
So I grew up diving shallow stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought that was all you needed
That's
to do.
exactly it. I mean, if you grew up in the Bahamas, if you grew up in the Keys, if you grew up even on the Gulf Coast, Gulf Coast, you can live your whole life shooting 30, 40 feet and get as many gags and hogfish as you want.
Yeah.
It's
You're a little more used to the dirty water over
you're
there.
very much more accustomed. You don't have the sharks because it's more spread out.
Yep.
And you've got the dirty water, and it's just different.
Yep.
And that's where the competitive spearfishing, it just forces you to do all of it.
Yeah.
If like shallow diving is a weakness for me.
Mhm.
Like I don't spend enough time on the bottom. I spend too much time on the surface. Like it's a weakness.
Yeah.
And that versatility in your diving is what makes a good competition diver. You must be able to dive it all.
So just to kind of wrap this topic up and move on to our next point, as far as competition goes, anybody who is trying to go that route, like, is this a route of diving that you want more people to be a part of?
Absolutely. So,
And how can they do that?
okay. This is,
Because I feel like it's one of those things.
it's one of
that's
those like blurry things that like
Yeah.
no one's clearly, expressed. And in the past, it's been very secretive.
Mhm.
It's been, well, if nobody knows where the nationals are, or nobody knows how to do it, I have less competition.
Mhm.
And it's been a big part of like the older generation, and we're trying to change that whole system. And I hate that. I hate that the like I had to actively hunt to find the information to go to my first nationals.
Yeah.
Like, why would it not be publicized? Why would it not be easy for like a young kid to be like, oh shit, I want to go to nationals. Like that's how you do it. Okay, cool.
Because there's people out there that can.
I guarantee you don't have a clue. Like so many people don't have a clue how to go about it.
Yeah.
But they want to do it. But then it comes out to like, oh, it's too much work. It's whatever. And
people that don't even know it exists.
don't even know it exists. Absolutely. So.
Uh-oh. You having mic issues over there?
No, did I touch it? I'm fine. Is it good?
Tilt it up towards you a little bit.
Oh,
it kind of fell
tilted.
over.
Oh, it got
There you
tilted.
go.
Okay. We good?
That's fine.
Yeah? Okay.
That'll work.
Cool. So the way it works is this. Clubs right now, we're working to change this kind of system.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, clubs are the only people able to send people to national championships. Okay? So you must be registered as a USOA member and as a member of a club. And that club must send you. Okay?
Gotcha.
So, for example, this year, the national championships are in Tampa. Okay? They're in Clearwater, Florida. Florida clubs will probably be full. Okay? Palm Beach Freedivers will probably send 3 teams. Each club is allowed to send 3 teams. Okay. FSDA on the Gulf Coast will probably send 3 teams. You're probably not going to get in to FSDA or Palm Beach Freedivers this year.
Yeah.
Because of where it is. But if you want to go to the national championships this year, you can pay your $35 or whatever it is and become a member of the Rhode Island Club, or a member of the SenCal Club, or a member of the Kona Club. And you can compete in the national championships as a member of their club. And it's kind of this barrier to entry that we're trying to fix right now. But
like, you're trying to do away with the club thing, or what?
The club thing is dying, unfortunately. As much as I enjoy the club part of it, the club aspect of it, it's kind of dying. And this loophole that's available should absolutely be utilized. So if you want to compete in the national championships, which we absolutely need more people to go to, the way to do it is to sign up through a club that isn't going to send their 3 teams. Okay? So it's all you have to do is contact Rhode Island, or contact Kona, or contact SenCal, or contact me, and I will put you in touch with that club. And you can sign up and you can make your 3-person team or your 2-person team or whatever it is, and you can compete for that club in the national championships. And the way it works is you have to do well in 2 consecutive national championships to be on Team USA. And what that does is that builds that versatility in your diving. So this year is going to be Tampa. It's going to be off a boat. It's going to be a 2-day event. So you're going to need to charter a boat or hire a boat or have a friend with a boat or something. The range is going to be huge. It's going to be something like 2 20-mile sections of reef out to 20 miles, out to 60 feet in the Gulf. It's going to be far. It's a lot of reef to explore.
Okay.
So that's got...
What is that normally as far as
it could be
nationals
anything.
go?
So that's huge.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the kind of the medium with which you hunt. Like in Hawaii, the scale might be 3 or 4 miles, but you start in the middle on a kayak. And everybody starts in a kayak and they paddle left or they paddle right in the middle of the zone. And paddle left, paddle right, come back in 6 hours, you know?
Or like you did the New Zealand.
New Zealand was totally different.
And you swam the whole thing.
New Zealand was swimming. New Zealand was interesting. Yeah. I'm not a professional swimmer. I'm a spearfisherman. But we'll go into that next.
Yeah.
But so nationals, the point is to make you a versatile diver. So this year it's going to be in Tampa. And this is the first of a 2-year circuit. So that's very, very important, because that means that this year combined with the next year will create Team USA, who will go to the World Championships. Okay? So next year is probably going to be Rhode Island. We're not sure, but we think it might be Rhode Island. Rhode Island's going to be out of a kayak. Rhode Island's going to be 7 mil wetsuits. Okay? So you better be able to dive out of a boat for 2 days in Tampa. Find your spots, because it's all going to be about local knowledge.
Right.
You better be able to find your spots, shoot your categories, shoot your fish, fill your categories. Do well, but more importantly, do well next year. And next year will be that hard, very cold water, 7 mil wetsuit, kayak, swimming against the current, crazy stuff. And those 2 scores added together will create Team USA. And that's how you will go to the World Championship. And that's why it's so important to be a waterman. It's not that you're really good at going on a boat in your backyard.
Yeah.
That's not what this is. Because that's not what we want to create. We don't want to create a diver that's good at going in their backyard. Because when you go to Worlds or when you go to Pan Americans, you're not in your backyard. You're somewhere totally different. And you better be able to get there early enough to learn the local knowledge, to learn the spots, to find the spots. Whether that means going back and forth all night long and scanning the bottom, or diving all over the shallow reef, or whatever it is. But you better be able to find it. And that's the diver we want. That's how we want to create, our Team USA. Team USA needs to be a versatile diver.
Which is tough, man.
It's absolutely the hardest part of spearfishing. You can be excellent at shooting them off the bull sharks. I know experts at it. There's people that will stone that cobia every time.
Yeah.
There's people that are excellent in the Keys at getting that grouper every time. There's people that are excellent in California at the yellowtail or the blue fin tuna or whatever it is. And that's great, but you better be able to do it all.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to hunt in the surf zone. You need to learn how to hunt deep. You need to learn how to hunt in the kelp. You know, learn how to kayak. You got to learn how to do all of it. You know, otherwise, you know, you just specialize in one thing.
Which is a skill that I have found over time that I've come to respect the most.
It's the hardest thing to learn.
Guys that I've dove with.
Absolutely, it's the hardest thing to learn.
Difficult.
Yeah. So we went this weekend, right? And we were diving this Gulf wreck in like 160 feet of water, and conditions were bad.
Really?
There were diesel pumping up out of this wreck.
What?
Yeah. So the wreck was like burping up diesel fumes.
No way.
To the point where like it was disgusting. Like I was gonna throw up on the boat. Like I was super sick. And
like liquid diesel or just
liquid
fumes?
diesel. It was so bad. We stopped the boat. We spent an hour searching for our leak.
How old is this wreck?
It was 1992.
What in the world?
Yeah, it was bad. The whole thing was bad. It was a bad situation.
Huh.
We spent an hour, like, I wanted to call the Coast Guard and alert them of our situation. And eventually, like, we kind of, like, figured out that, like, hey, maybe it was the wreck burping up the diesel and maybe whatever. But anyways, I was not feeling well.
I didn't know that was even...
I didn't know it was possible either. Like, it was, all I know is Pearl Harbor burps up diesel and, like... And that's how my only reference for it was. And then I was like, maybe this wreck is doing that too? I don't know. And then, like, we got over the wreck.
Could you see it?
It was obvious that it was a huge slick coming up. And we thought it was our boat. Because every time we came close to the wreck, we thought our boat was purging gas or something. And it was a new boat, so we didn't quite know it that well. And the fuel level was low. And we didn't know it. We just ran 70 miles. So it was a series of unfortunate events. But anyways, the moral of the story was that I was not feeling well. And I'm a, pretty comfortable constant weight diver, 130, 140 feet. I can do that pretty much any day. And I was not anywhere near that. And the buffer zone that I have is just bigger than the buffer zone that other people have. So we've got Chris Landers, Casey Scott, Toby. These pretty good divers.
Yeah.
And instead of their normal 70, 80, 90-foot dives, they're in the same conditions I am. And they're pushed back into 40, 50, 60.
Yeah.
And instead of my 120, 30, 40, I'm pushed back into 80, 90, 100, which was everything here. All the fish were in 80, 90, 100. So even though I was severely crippled, and we were all severely crippled, I was crippled in a way that was still very accessible to the fish.
Yeah.
Where they were not. You know what I mean? And it's that kind of comfort zone, where that ability to dive in that uncomfortable situation, because you never know where you're going to be in that tournament. It could be any type of conditions, and you must adapt. That's it.
So what'd you shoot?
Well, so we spent I don't even know, hours on the boat fishing, attempting to line fish, which I think is ridiculous. And I kept telling you, I was patiently like sitting in the bow, like, hey, let me know whenever you're ready to shoot a fish, because I'll get in. I'll shoot a fish. And I was pretty cocky, and luckily, as soon as I got in the water, there was like a 50-pound cobia below me.
Nice.
And I swam down. I shot this thing. I had a brand new roller gun I just made from Florida Freedivers, and stuck him right through the head, top down. Nothing could go wrong.
Yeah.
And I pulled up, and the shaft just slipped right out of him. And I had no idea what happened. I was like, maybe I was really far away. Maybe that fish was way bigger than I thought, and I was farther away from it than I thought. And maybe I didn't penetrate all the way or whatever, because the shaft clearly was still in the end, but it fell out. And I pulled the flopper all the way up, and my electrical tape is still wrapped around the flopper. And I was just here with Eric like 3 days before this trip, and I
Rolling all those shafts.
rolling all the shafts, testing which ones are straight, whatever.
Oh
And
man.
this one was straight, but I didn't take the tape off it.
You know what? I've got tape on one of my shafts in my gun right now.
Yeah.
After this, I'm gonna go cut that off because I'm gonna do the same thing.
Dude, it was not a good thing. I was like my first shot with the brand new gun. Like I was pumped. It was the first drop, so like of course you scare everything. Like it was very important to like first drop. We've been chumming like crazy. We anchored up on the wreck. Like it's pretty important. Your first drop is kind of everything.
Yeah.
And I destroyed it. And
Nice.
and 20 minutes later, I see my cobia swimming across the surface, and he's like up. I do a drop, and like as soon as my mask, like I'm like vertical in the water, and I'm looking kind of like behind me, and I see this big fish swimming on the surface, and I kind of changed my drift. I changed my whole dive, and I swam over to him, and it was my cobia like half dead, just swimming right on the surface. So I shot him again with the same gun. First 2 shots with my new gun were on the same fish. I mean, when does that happen? How do you shoot a fish twice with the same gun?
Yeah.
20 minutes apart from each other. And
Crazy.
it was a solid like 50-pound cobia. It was a good fish.
I'm assuming you took the electrical tape off by this point.
I did. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Other than that, so just to kind of give some background on that gun, because I think it's a pretty cool gun.
Absolutely, it was a cool gun. I'm stoked.
One thing we've talked about in actually a bunch of episodes previously is shaft axis and how that affects accuracy and some other stuff. How would you say that gun felt compared to a standard Rob Allen?
The gun felt epic, and I think that was simply because of the roller factor of it.
Yeah.
I think the actual shaft axis that we changed was a little bit of work.
Okay.
I could tell that that middle finger was being kind of crushed as I
Gotcha.
tried to move it upwards. So that trigger guard's definitely in the way a little bit. It definitely needs some more work, but it shoots like a dream. Honestly, like I went 4 for 4 on 5 for 5 on shots.
Nice.
I mean, heck, one of them was twice. But yeah, I stuck that cobia twice.
That's the thing with custom guns, though. Is sorry, this camera keeps going out.
No, you gotta get used to it for sure.
Yeah,
I felt like a kook. I was like, I almost posted. I was like, this is the cardinal sin. Like I'm going out with a brand new gun to an epic spot. You do not do that. Like you gotta test. You gotta at least shoot in the pool. Do something.
And not just guns too, but if you even changing one thing on your setup.
Any gear. Usually I test it all.
Yeah, if you change shooting line.
I mean, look at me. I freaking have the
trying
flopper taped down. But yeah, I did pretty well. I shot that cobia for his first 2 shots, landed
Nice.
him. Third shot was an AP, solid, really solid one, landed him. Fourth shot was a Cubera, went straight for the wreck, got eaten by Goliath. I'll need a new shaft for that one. He was done.
All right.
And then the 5th shaft was another Cubera that I landed, but it was all right where I wanted it to be. It was
Perfect.
Cool. Yeah, I was stoked.
Nice, man. But speaking of that trip, I mean, that's obviously pretty close to home compared to what you're used to.
Yeah,
You're kind of well known for traveling all over the world,
absolutely.
and shooting fish all over the world. Before we talk about some of the places you've been, let's talk about some of the fish that you've shot in these places. From everything that you've done all over the world, what would you say your favorite fish was to hunt and your least favorite fish to hunt?
The doggy is both. Doggy covers both those categories right there.
Nice.
I hate them. I love them. They're awful. They're awful fish.
And you shot your first one recently, right? That was
No, I've shot them before.
You shot them before, gotcha.
Shot my biggest one recently by a little bit. They're really a worthy opponent. You don't often find that. Like,
A lot of people say they're the epitome of spearfishing.
they are. They 100% are.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't hunted every fish in the world, but they're the only thing I've ever hunted that beats me more often than I beat it. Picture, what kind of ratio do you go on most of your fish? Maybe wahoo's my least. Maybe you land 50%. The doggies, like you land like 1 out of 4. 25%. It's just they beat you so often. Like they make you feel awful. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And where, So that was in Fiji recently.
I was in Fiji recently hunting them. I was in Africa last year hunting them.
Okay.
And
Yeah. What's their spread?
their spread is kind of big. It just doesn't include us, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
Like it goes from, that east coast of Africa pretty much across all through Asia. I think pretty much all the way through Asia, almost to Hawaii. And then it kind of stops somewhere before Hawaii. And there are tales of them catching them fishing in Hawaii, small ones.
Yeah.
And
But
it's not
over or whatever.
Yeah, it's not consistent. And but yeah, it's pretty much everything but us. Unfortunately, pretty much the rest of the world except for us.
Nice.
So we got kind of screwed there, but
We seem to get that with
couple fish.
several fish.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and talk about some of the places you've been. Obviously, Fiji was more recently, as well as Hawaii, New Zealand. New Zealand was where you did the New Zealand Nationals.
So I went to New Zealand. So the guys over at Hex invited us to go to the New Zealand National Championships.
Yep.
And it's kind of interesting because
I loved reading this one on your blog, by the way.
Yeah.
You could tell your mood when you were writing it.
Yeah, I was a little upset. We like to go and win. We really like to go and lose anymore.
Yeah.
And I went to the New Zealand Nationals, and we know the guys over there pretty well because we've competed against them a couple times in the World Championships and in the Pan Americans, and we kind of know the same guys over there. We always seem to be competing against them, and they're really good dudes, but they're really good spearfishermen, and a lot of them, most of them are commercial guys, so they're in the water every single day, whether it's they're abalone diving or they're sea urchin diving. They call them kina over there. They're in the water every day. They're hardcore, badass dudes,
Yeah.
And we got invited for nationals, and we didn't really have the prep that I'm used to for a national championship, and we got beat. I mean, we were, it was like 40 something teams, and we were 6th or 7th out of 47 teams, which is still not bad, but it's not what me and Justin Lee wanted. Me and Justin Lee are there to win.
Yeah.
And but it was a really cool experience. Their whole vibe there, the way they've included everybody, whether it's the women or the kids or whatever, they've gone out of their way to make sure everybody's invited to that national championships.
Nice.
And they've made it in a spot that's accessible, and they've just done a phenomenal job. Like nothing like I've seen our tournaments here in the United States. And so it was a really cool experience to get there and compete with them. Really humbling to get our ass kind of kicked by them. And we started there. That was kind of the start of my adventure. And I knew I was going to be there, and I knew I didn't want to come home. So I didn't want to come home for winter. That was kind of like January phase. And I was like, I need to find something to do after this on that side of the world. So I started kind of searching around, and that's where I kind of found Fiji.
I don't want to go home.
Yeah.
Where am I going to go?
No, that's the way I travel. I'm like, well, shit, I'm going to be in New Zealand. That's really close to the South Pacific. Like, how do I get there?
Yeah.
And I did some research, and I found my contacts over there and figured out how to do it. And ended up on this little bitty island in Fiji where it was like a village. I mean, village as far as like, you look at your Bahamas village, what you would say is a village.
Yeah.
And it's like a city.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can buy something, you're in a city. I mean, this was really off the beaten path.
Borderline tribal.
No, full tribal.
Full tribal.
This was
Nice.
This was a clan part of it. So they're the, I can't even think of their name right now, but they're part of a tribe, and they're a clan that's an offshoot of that tribe, and they are the fishermen. So their job is to provide the fish for the whole tribe. And
Gotcha.
if like one clan might be the warrior clan, which his job is to protect the chief and the whole clan, and the other tribe might be the farmer clan, and their job is to farm for the whole tribe and whatever. And this village, literally its only job was to spearfish, and it was like all of my people. Like we went there, and it was like everybody understood, like they all knew where the doggies are. All they did every single day of their entire lives were spearfish.
And that's the only way they harvest fish is spearing.
Well, they fish too, but they told me something pretty funny. They were like, if you go, you go fishing, you're a girl. With a line fishing, you go with a girl, you're a girl. And it was pretty much like a manly type of activity. Like the women go diving, but they go collect the different whelks and conchs and different type of species that the different algae and the kelps and stuff that they eat. And then it was kind of like the men were out like hunting, you know. And picture like an island with like 100 people, and half of that 100 were children. So half of that 50 that were adults were maybe men of spearfishing age.
Yeah.
Some of those were elderly, some of those were women. So they maybe had like 10, 15, 20 spearfishermen. And those guys hardcore spearfished like every single day.
Do it to live, essentially.
That was the only thing they did for money. And
Yeah.
they sold fish, and that was their entire life. And they were good at it with their like rudimentary little, bamboo pole spears with, metal rods stuck on it. It was crazy with the gear that they had.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
If that's all you got, you make it work,
That was all they had. And it was really special getting to share, that time with them, and seeing how they make a living every day,
It's awesome.
And that level of kind of like poverty or subsistence living or whatever it is something that, we see all over the world. I see in my travels all the time, but I never really get to live it. I never get to stay there. Usually you visit for the day, you give them candy and, whatever money, and you pass through.
Go back to your hotel.
Yeah, you go back to your hotel or wherever you're staying. And
Yeah.
this was totally different. Like I stayed there. I got to know the people, the kids, the pets, whatever, for 3 weeks. And,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
It's awesome. Fiji is definitely one of those places, man, that's just like bucket list for everyone, I feel like.
Everybody. It really is. Yeah.
But even then, the people that do go, I feel like don't necessarily
Don't scratch the
experience it
surface.
on that scale.
Absolutely not. And we met a lot of people over there. We did the hostel thing. That's the only way we survive. Moved from hostel to hostel. And it's people are like, "What did you do here for 6 weeks?" Because most people just sit on the beach and drink. You sit in the hostel and you drink and whatever. And unless you really make that effort to get out of the main city, of the main island, whatever, it's hard. Like it's not an easy thing to do. You don't just get there and end up. It's just like going to the Bahamas. You go to the Bahamas your whole life and stay in West End and Bimini. Unless you make the effort to get south, to get to, the Berry Islands, to get to Long Island, to get to Rumpke, to get south, you never really experience Bahamas. Like I don't consider those North Islands even Bahamas. It's not
Berries
real.
are cool.
Berries are great.
It's the farthest south I've been so far, and I loved it.
They're great.
Berries
They're
was
a
sick.
whole different level than your West End or Abaco or Bimini. They're just totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you find yourself frequenting the kava bars now that you've been to
No.
Fiji and back?
I have had more kava in Fiji than I ever want again in my life. So kava is kind of interesting over there. It was, we all drink kava here in the States every now and then when some friend of yours drags you to the kava bar and you go and you have 2 shells of kava for like $5 a piece and you're like, this is dumb. I don't feel anything.
It tastes awful.
Yeah, I'd rather have a beer. And I've always heard that like it kind of built up a tolerance. Like it's the opposite of building up a tolerance. Like, you need to drink it consistently to get that feeling, to get drunk.
Like Cigatera, build it up. over
Yeah,
time.
yeah. So we got there and like we kind of did kava quite a bit, but like we figured out that it's actually really expensive there. And for them, for the Fijians, like it's not a cheap thing. It's not like, even though it comes from there, it's got such a export value that it's not really cheap for the locals. And we didn't do it as often as we thought in the beginning, but we did it. Me and Sam would curl up in the hotel room and make our own little kava bowl and drink it, and then we got to the village, and the village was like nonstop, all you could drink kava. Like I poked my little head out the window, And so, hey, come, Kava, Kava, come have a bowl, just one bowl, you know. And they would like beg us to like come and sit and have a bowl with us. Like, you can't say no.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and we end up just drinking so much kava that we were like drunk. Like you definitely like I never felt kava drunk
Yeah.
in my life until the village, until the island, and we definitely felt it there. It was like it was kind of silly.
So no longer drinking kava every night now that you're
No,
back.
no, I'm happy to drink beer now. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
What's one of your favorite spots you've been to so far? Probably Fiji, it sounds like.
I don't know about Fiji was epic, but you know, it's really really hard to beat Hawaii.
Mm.
I love Hawaii.
Some tough diving out there though.
It's hard, which makes it fun.
Trains you.
It really does. I mean, it's my type of diving. I like the reef. I like the deep reef. You know, I like to really hide and have that kind of challenge of hunting those smaller, smarter fish.
Right.
There's more to do out there than you could imagine. I mean, I've spent, you know, I don't know, a year and a half total in the last few years out there, and I haven't done anything. I haven't done, you know, a quarter of what there is to do as far as the hikes and the volcanoes and the waterfalls, and there's a lot to do. But it's hard to beat Hawaii. But New Zealand's pretty great too. It's just cold, and you know, you kind of kill enough kingies to you're over it. You're like, okay, I've killed 1,000 kingies.
Yeah.
Now what?
I haven't been to any of these places.
Yeah.
The extent of my spearfishing travel is
Bahamas.
and
Hey,
Louisiana.
it's really, really, really hard to beat Bahamas too.
It's good, man.
The Bahamas is
It's
the best beginner spot in the world.
for sure.
I've never. I try to explain to people when I travel. I'm
It's
like,
probably one of the best shallow fisheries.
100%. There's no doubt about it. I try to explain to people when what is the Bahamas? I'm like, well, picture shooting that fish that I just dove to 90 feet for. Picture shooting that in 10 feet.
Yeah.
You know, you can shoot grouper in 20 feet all day long. You know,
Shallower than that, too.
That's special.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Some of the biggest fish I've shot in the Bahamas were all
shallow.
10
sure.
to 15
For
feet.
sure.
Yeah.
So we've got to really protect that fishery.
Mhm.
That fishery scares me with the Chinese and everything else going on. Like, it's so special to us that like it could so easily be ruined. You know.
And not just that. I mean, we have to be careful ourselves too.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
there's way more people going to the Bahamas
Going
than there
across,
ever
and
has
it's
been.
Easy as hell now. You go across, you know,
Yeah.
it's nothing.
And everybody wants to go over and shoot 30 hogfish.
For sure.
You know, and people
sure.
do.
Oh,
People
100%.
definitely do, and shoot
100%.
more than that.
Yeah.
And look at the effect that has on like West End and
For sure.
Bimini.
And we've all got to go to West End or Bimini and then further.
Yeah.
You know, it's no longer enough to go to West End. Now you got to go West End, then you got to go to Abacos. Now you got to go to West End, or you got to go 30 miles north up to White Sands.
Yeah.
You have to move, and it just got harder and harder for sure.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. Anything else you want to add onto the top here?
I don't know.
We
What else
covered a
you got?
lot of information.
Yeah, we've been all over the place. We've been scattered out crazy.
And we've gone a lot longer than I thought we would.
How far are we?
We're at an hour and 4 minutes in,
Okay.
which is good. That's a solid podcast length.
Okay.
But definitely, thank you for coming on.
Hey,
It was
well,
awesome
thank
talking
you
to
for having
you.
me.
You're one of the best in the world, and it's always good to kind of get that insight.
Thanks, man.
I definitely suggest anybody who's listening go check out Ryan's blog. What's the website again?
It's RyanMyersExpeditions.com.
That is the one. Check it out there. One of the best sources for spearfishing, freediving information in a blog format. So it's interesting to read too.
Oh, thank you.
Guy's got some incredible stories to share on there. And I know I've enjoyed it. I'm sure everybody else who reads it will as well. So
Sure.
definitely check that out. Thanks again for coming on. And we'll see everyone in the next one.
Cool. Thanks for having me.